The museum was quiet. Cold white lights lit up the dark hall. In the center stood the armor, tall, silver, and still. It had no name, only a number, Exhibit 7X. No one remembered where it came from, or who made it. People said it was over 1,000 years old. It didn't move. It didn't glow. It didn't do anything. Aliens from different worlds passed by, taking pictures, whispering stories. They said the armor once belonged to an ancient warrior who could stop armies. But now, it was nothing more than metal. Lyra stood near the armor, with a bored look. She had seen it 100 times. Her job was to watch visitors and answer questions. She was tall, with soft violet skin and sharp eyes. She believed in facts, not stories. The armor, to her, was just a dead object. Then he walked in. Tom was human, tired from space travel, but full of curiosity. It was his first time on Lyra's planet. Everything was new to him. He walked slowly through the museum, his eyes wide. He stopped in front of the armor and stared at it. "Is this real?" he asked. Lyra didn't even look at him. "Yes, very old. Doesn't work." Tom tilted his head. "May I touch it?" She laughed, not unkindly. "It won't react. You can try." Tom stepped closer. The glass around the armor slid open as it sensed his approach. Lyra blinked in surprise. That had never happened before, but she said nothing. He reached out and placed his hand gently on the armor's chest. For a second, nothing happened. Lyra crossed her arms, waiting for him to give up. Then the air changed. A low hum came from the armor. Tom pulled his hand back, eyes wide. A soft blue light began to glow under the surface of the metal. It moved like water, flowing across the chest plate and down the arms. The armor seemed to wake up. Lyra stepped back. "That's not possible." Tom didn't say anything. He was just staring. The light grew brighter, shining through the museum hall. The other visitors stopped and turned to look. A quiet buzz filled the air. Then, the armor opened. The chest split in two, slowly and smoothly. A soft steam rose from inside. It looked like the armor was inviting someone in. Everyone stood still. Tom took a breath. "Should I?" Lyra shook her head. "No one has ever stepped into it. It never opened. Not for anyone." Tom looked at the glowing armor again. Something about it felt right, familiar, even. He stepped forward and placed one foot inside. Nothing stopped him. The armor responded. It closed around him, piece by piece. Chest, arms, legs, helmet. When it finished, Tom was standing in full armor, glowing softly with energy. The lights in the museum flickered. Alarms beeped somewhere, far away. Tom didn't feel heavy. He felt balanced. Like the armor wasn't wearing him. He was wearing it. Lyra was speechless. She moved closer. "Can you hear me?" Tom nodded. "Yes." He turned his hands slowly. The armor moved with him, smooth as silk. It didn't feel strange. It felt like home. Then, something happened that made everyone freeze. The armor spoke. It didn't use the alien language. It didn't use code or sound. It spoke in clear English. "Welcome, chosen one." Tom's heart skipped a beat. "Did you hear that?" Lyra stepped closer. "I didn't." "What did it say?" Tom looked at her, then back at the armor. It said ... "I'm the chosen one." The lights stopped flickering. The glowing faded slightly, but the energy in the room stayed. It was like the air itself was holding its breath. Guards arrived at the door, confused and alert. People whispered, scared and curious. But Tom stood still in the armor, his eyes deep in thought. He hadn't come here to be a hero. He didn't believe in destiny. But the armor, it did ... and now, it had chosen him. Tom didn't move. The armor was still wrapped around him, warm and pulsing softly with light. Everyone was staring, some with fear, some with wonder, and some with disbelief. But inside the helmet, everything was quiet. Tom could hear his own breath, slow and steady. He felt calm, even though nothing made sense. Lyra stood closest to him. Her voice was soft. "Are you all right?" He nodded, then paused. "I think so. It's not heavy. It doesn't feel like a machine. It feels ... alive." She took a cautious step forward. The armor has never done this before. Not even once. In hundreds of years. Tom looked down at his arms, now covered in silver plates that fit perfectly. "I don't even know how it fits me." Lyra shook her head slowly. "It wasn't made for humans." Before Tom could answer, the armor spoke again, but only to him. A gentle voice echoed inside his mind. It sounded ancient, wise, and familiar. as if it had waited a long time to speak. "You are not the first to wear me, but you are the first. I have chosen." Tom blinked. Chosen for what? No answer came, just a soft hum and a new light glowing along the armor's arms. Symbols lit up, symbols he didn't understand, but somehow they felt familiar. Lyra noticed. Those markings, they're from the first language. No one's used that in centuries. Tom looked at her. "Can you read them?" She stepped closer, eyes scanning the light. "Some of it. One word repeats again and again." "What word?" She hesitated. "Return." Before either of them could speak more, museum security arrived. 4 guards stood at the doorway, their eyes wide, unsure if they should approach. Lyra raised a hand. He didn't do anything. The armor activated on its own. One of the guards spoke into a device. Moments later, a voice came from the wall speakers. Calm, clear, and official. "All visitors must leave. Exhibit 7X is now restricted. The wearer will remain for examination." People began to leave, some still taking pictures, others whispering stories that would soon spread across the galaxy. Lyra stayed with Tom as the guards carefully guided them down a hallway into a private room. The room was clean and simple. A scanner stood in the corner, blinking. A few scientists entered, none of them speaking loudly. They looked at Tom like he was a puzzle that didn't belong. One of them walked forward. He had soft gray skin and a long coat. "We've waited generations to see this armor wake. We studied it, tested it, even tried to repair it. Nothing worked." Tom stayed still. "I didn't do anything special." The man tilted his head. "That may be true, but something inside your DNA, your mind, something matched with the armor's code." Lyra asked, "What does that mean?" The man hesitated. "We don't know. The armor was made by the ancients, before our time. The ones who left no records, only ruins. We thought it was a weapon." Tom felt the voice again. It whispered faintly, "I am not made to destroy. I am made to protect." Tom repeated it aloud. Everyone stopped. "Did the armor say that?" the man asked. Tom nodded. "It speaks to me, but only in my mind." The room fell silent again. A strange feeling settled in the air, not fear, but something heavier, responsibility. Lyra glanced at Tom. "Maybe it didn't choose you to fight. Maybe it chose you to save something." Tom looked at his reflection in the shiny wall. He didn't look like himself anymore, but deep inside, he felt the same. Curious, calm human, and yet, part of him felt different. A little older, a little less alone. The lights on the armor faded to a soft glow. It was resting now. The scientist spoke again. "We want to run tests, try to understand the connection. If that's all right with you." Tom looked at Lyra. She gave a small nod. "I'll stay with you." He took a deep breath. "Okay, but I want to know everything this armor knows. If it woke up for me, I need to understand why." Lyra smiled a little. "We'll find out together." As the door closed behind them, the armor whispered one more sentence inside Tom's mind. "Are the last hope of a forgotten promise." He didn't know what it meant yet, but he was ready to find out. Tom sat on the exam table in the quiet room. The armor was still on him, but now its lights were dim. It no longer glowed with power, but it didn't leave his body either. It had become part of him, like a second skin that breathed with him, moved with him, and stayed calm when he was calm. He touched his chest slowly, feeling the smooth surface where the metal met his skin like it had always belonged there. Lyra stood nearby, watching silently. She hadn't left his side since the museum. She didn't treat him like a problem to solve. She treated him like something ancient had finally touched something new, and both were trying to understand it. A small drone floated into the room and scanned Tom with a soft beam of light. On the screen nearby, data flashed quickly. None of the scientists understood what it meant. The language wasn't theirs. It wasn't human either. It was older, from a time no one remembered. One of the older researchers entered quietly. His name was Diachin, and he had spent his life studying the ruins left by the ancients. He walked slowly, with care, and his eyes focused on the markings now glowing faintly on Tom's arms. He spoke gently. "Do you know what the armor is showing?" "You?" Tom shook his head. "I don't understand the words, but I feel like I've seen them before, in a dream maybe, or a memory that's not mine." Diachin stepped closer and placed a small screen in front of him. It showed a circular symbol, glowing in the same blue as the armor's lights. "This is the symbol for guardianship," Diachin said. "The ancients used it in every place they protected. Lyra leaned in. But there are no records left from the ancients, just ruins, empty halls, silent machines. DHN nodded slowly. That's why this is so important. If the armor is active, it means one of those places may not be lost. It might still exist. Tom looked between them. A place the armor was built to protect. DHN met his eyes. Or a promise it was made to keep. Tom felt something shift inside him. Not fear, but something deeper. A sense that someone had been waiting. A long, quiet waiting. He asked softly, why would they wait for a human? No one could answer. That night, Tom sat alone in a quiet room, still inside the armor. The lights were off, but the armor gave off a soft, gentle glow like a nightlight. He lay back on the bed, closed his eyes, and took a deep breath. Then it happened, in a blink. He was somewhere else. He was standing on a cliff. Below him, a wide city stretched into the distance. Towers of glass and stone. Blue light rising into the sky. Ships moving silently above. But it wasn't Earth. It wasn't anywhere he knew. The sky turned red. A voice shouted in a language he didn't understand. He saw people running, hiding, protecting their children. And then, a figure in the same armor he now wore standing. At the center of it all, the vision shifted. He saw hands reaching out, offering the armor to someone new. But that person walked away. The voice of the armor returned in his mind. Clear and calm. Every generation was given the choice. None accepted, until now. Tom opened his eyes, gasping. The room was still dark. Lyra had returned, sitting in a chair nearby, reading on a screen. He looked at her. I saw it, a city, falling, and the armor. It was protecting them. She lowered the screen. You saw a memory? I think so. Or a message. Maybe both. It's trying to show me what it was made for. Lyra leaned forward. If the armor is choosing to reveal things to you, that means it trusts you. But why now? Tom looked at his hands. The metal reflected the soft light. Because maybe, ... It ran out of time. Just then, the armor's voice spoke again, faint, but steady. A map remains. On Tom's wrist, a small glowing line appeared. It moved slowly, like a compass dot. Tom and Lyra stared at it. It's pointing to something, she whispered. Tom nodded. Something the armor wants me to find. Neither of them moved. Outside the building, far away, someone else was already watching the security feeds. A figure in a long black coat stared at the glowing dots on a screen. He didn't smile. He didn't speak. But he understood what the glowing line meant, and he had no plans of letting Tom find what the armor was guiding him to. Asterisk. Tom couldn't sleep. The glowing line on his wrist hadn't faded. It moved gently, shifting ever so slightly whenever he turned. Like a compass, it pointed toward something distant, but it didn't say what. Every few minutes, the light would pulse, soft and steady, as if the armor was reminding him that the path was still there, waiting. Lyra entered the room quietly. She carried a tablet in one hand and a steaming drink in the other. Her eyes were tired, but alert. It's been pointing in the same direction all night, Tom said, without even looking up. She nodded and handed him the drink. We tracked the direction on the star map. It's pointing toward the old valley, the edge of the forgotten zone. No cities there, just ruins. Tom frowned. Why would it take me there? Lyra sat beside him. Because no one goes there anymore. That place was sealed after the last war. People say the ground itself won't speak. But the armor remembers. Tom whispered. They both sat in silence. Later that morning, a small ship was prepared. It was quiet, small enough for 2 people, and not tracked by public channels. Lyra arranged everything. Tom just followed the glowing line. As they flew over wide silver mountains and deep blue rivers, Tom looked out the window. Everything here feels older than it looks. Lyra agreed. This planet has bones under its skin. Our people built over the past, but we never erased it. Maybe we couldn't. The valley came into view slowly, hidden behind dark cliffs and rolling mist. From above, it looked like a deep scar in the land. Twisted trees, broken stone, and silence covered everything. The ship landed gently. As Tom stepped out, the armor responded immediately. The light on his wrist pulsed brighter. Symbols on his chest lit up, matching the wind's rhythm. It knows. This place, he said. Lyra walked beside him. Then this is where it began. They moved through thick fog and cold air. The ground made no sound beneath their feet. Trees stood like silent watchers. Between them, broken pillars stuck out of the earth, old, worn, and forgotten. Tom paused near one of the stones. He placed his hand on it. The stone reacted. Lines of light crawled across it, forming the same ancient shapes as the armor. A low hum came from below the ground. Lyra gasped. These stones, they were part of something big. Tom nodded. It's not just a ruin. It was a place of purpose. Further in, they found it a large circular platform hidden beneath roots and vines. The compass line on Tom's wrist pointed straight to the center. He stepped onto it. The ground responded. The vines pulled back. The platform lit up, and slowly, a memory played not as a dream, but as a vision in the air. A tall figure, wearing the same armor Tom now wore, stood among others. They spoke in a soft language. They pointed to a map of stars. There was tension in their movements, like a decision was being made. Then the vision changed. That same warrior placed the armor onto a glowing stand, surrounded by guardians. The light faded. The armor became silent, just as it had been in the museum. Tom reached out to the center of the platform. The vision ended. But now, something new happened. The floor opened. Beneath them, a staircase revealed itself, leading downward into darkness. Lyra looked at Tom. It's been waiting all this time. Tom took a deep breath. The armor was glowing gently, but it didn't feel heavy. It felt ready. They walked down together. The stairs led into a large chamber, untouched by time. The walls were covered in the same symbols as the armor, layers of history, written in light. In the middle of the room stood a stone table, and on it, a sphere the size of a human heart. It floated slightly above the surface. Tom stepped closer. The sphere spoke, not in voice, but in thoughts. Just like the armor, you carry the memory of a promise made long ago. You wear not just armor, but a key. Tom looked at Lyra. She was staring at the sphere, unsure whether to speak. What promise? He asked. The sphere responded gently, to return when the stars turn cold, and bring balance where silence grew. Lyra whispered, this wasn't just armor. It was part of a greater plan. Tom reached out. The moment he touched the sphere, lights on the wall danced. A map of the galaxy appeared, with one point glowing brighter than the rest. Another destination. Another step in the path. But behind them, in the fog above, someone was already waiting, watching the entrance to the valley. He had followed the energy signature of the armor. He had no voice, only a mission. Tom didn't know it yet, but the journey was no longer just his. Others had begun to notice, and the past was finally waking up. The journey back from the valley was quiet. Tom sat near the window of the ship, holding the memory sphere in his hands. It no longer floated. It had gone silent after showing the map, like it had passed on all it could. But Tom could still feel something inside it, a soft energy that pulsed with thought, not sound. Lyra watched him closely. You've changed, she said softly. Tom didn't look up. I feel it. The armor, the sphere, everything. It's like they're showing me parts of something much bigger, but only one piece at a time. She nodded. Whatever this is, it's older than anything we've studied. The ancients didn't just leave technology. They left a path. Tom's wrist still glowed with that same gentle light, but now the compass line curved leading not into the stars, but toward a nearby moon orbiting Lyra's planet. The glowing dot on the galactic map was there. No one lived on that moon anymore. It had been abandoned long ago, called uninhabitable, unstable. But now, the armor pointed straight to it, and the map confirmed it. When they returned to the research center, quiet tension filled the halls. Scientists and officials spoke in low voices. Some had seen the vision from the museum. Some had read the energy reports from the valley. Many were curious, but others were worried. Tom and Lyra were led to a private room with soft lights and quiet air. A council representative waited inside, someone Tom hadn't met before. She was tall, with silver blue skin and eyes that didn't blink much. I'm here to ask questions, she said simply. Tom nodded. I'll try to answer. She pointed to the sphere. What is that? Tom placed it gently on the table. It's a memory. It showed us a location on your moon. The representative narrowed her eyes. Nothing exists there. Tom looked calm. Then I'll find out for myself. Lyra placed a hand on the table. This isn't just some lost device. It chose him. It's showing him things for a reason. The representative didn't argue. She simply stood and walked away, leaving only one sentence behind. You may go, but you won't be alone. Hours later, Tom and Lyra boarded another ship, smaller this time. Only enough space for 3. The third seat was for a guide sent by the council, someone quiet who didn't ask questions. That as they entered the moon's orbit, the light on Tom's wrist changed. It began to flash softly, matching the rhythm of his heart. He closed his eyes. A whisper returned to his mind. This is where the seal was made. The ship landed near a wide crater, surrounded by silent mountains and deep grey dust. Wind passed through broken stones, but the land was still. The sphere in Tom's hand began to glow again, slowly rising above his palm. Lyra stepped beside him. It's reacting to something. They walked toward the center of the crater. Beneath the dust, something shimmered, a thin layer of light, barely visible in daylight. The armor lit up in return, matching its color perfectly. Then, Tom stepped forward. The ground responded. It didn't open like before. It faded. The surface of the crater became clear, like glass melting into nothing. A stairway of light appeared, spiraling downward into the moon itself. Tom looked at Lyra. "We're going in, aren't we?" she said. He nodded. "We have to." They descended slowly. The path was smooth, warm under their feet. Light followed them, like it remembered who they were. Below, they entered a round chamber like the one in the valley. This one was different. It had no carvings, no machines, just a pool of still silver liquid at the center. The sphere floated above it. Tom stepped closer. The armor reacted again. Symbols appeared across the liquid surface. Then the pool spoke, not in words, but in clear thought. "You bring the memory, now bring the choice." Lyra's voice trembled. "What choice?" The liquid rose slightly, forming shapes: people, ships, stars. Then, darkness. Tom watched as one image formed clearly. A gate, floating in space, ancient and broken. The seal protected the gate. He said, "This place, this moon, it was the key to locking it." Lyra whispered. Then, the armor wasn't just for protection. It was meant to close something, or open it. Tom looked at her. The map, the compass, everything led here. But what if this isn't the final step? The pool shimmered again, and now a new map appeared. The stars shifted. A path lit up, and, at the very end, Earth. Tom's breath caught in his throat. Lyra stepped forward. "Your home planet." He nodded. "It's the next point, the next answer." But before they could speak further, the pool dimmed. The sphere dropped into Tom's hand once more, and the armor whispered softly, "The seal weakens. Time is folding." Tom and Lyra climbed back to the surface, their steps slow, their thoughts faster than ever. They had come looking for answers. Now they had a question that touched more than just one world. Something ancient was on Earth was next. The return trip to the main planet was quiet, but the silence wasn't empty. Tom sat near the window again, but this time his thoughts didn't wander. They stayed fixed on one thing: the image from the pool, the final glowing dot on the map, the one at the very edge, Earth. The armor hadn't spoken since then, but he could feel it, still listening, still thinking. He didn't understand how a suit of metal could feel alive, but it did. It reacted to more than touch. It reacted to purpose. Lyra sat across from him, reading through translated notes from their last journey. She kept glancing at Tom's wrist. The compass had dimmed now, not gone, but waiting, like a guide that only revealed the path when someone was truly ready to walk it. She finally spoke. "We need to go to Earth. That part is clear, but we don't know what we'll find there." Tom nodded. "Maybe it's not about finding something. Maybe it's about remembering." She looked confused. "Remembering what?" Tom hesitated. "I think this armor didn't come from Earth, but part of it did. A long time ago, something happened, something that connected humans to all of this. The armor, the gates, the guardians. Maybe it started on Earth without anyone knowing." Lyra tilted her head. "You think Earth holds a memory just like the armor?" Tom gave a quiet smile. "Not just a memory, a key." When they arrived back at the base, the council had already heard about their discovery on the moon. A message waited for Tom, one that surprised him. "You're cleared for travel," Lyra read aloud. "To Earth." Tom narrowed his eyes. "That's fast. Too fast." Lyra nodded slowly. Either they believe the journey must happen, or they want to control it. They left the very next morning. No grand ship, no escort, just a small vessel prepared with basic travel supplies. It was clear the council didn't want to attract attention. The stars passed quietly as they moved through space. Tom sat in silence most of the way, watching the stars shift outside the window. But deep inside, something had begun to stir. Memories. That weren't his dot. He could feel them. Not full images, not words, just feelings. A field under twin suns. Laughter in an old language. A goodbye at a great door of light dot. And then silence dot. It wasn't until they reached the Earth's orbit that the armor fully awakened again. A pulse moved through his chest, and every part of the suit lit up in soft gold. Tom sat forward. It knows. We're here. The ship landed quietly in a mountain region, far from any major city. The map led them to a forest and touched an old, the kind of place that felt like the world had forgotten it. Trees whispered in the wind. The ground was soft with moss and leaves. The compass lit again. It pointed to the base of a hill, where large stones were half buried in the earth. Some looked like old statues, worn smooth by time. No signs, no names. No names. Tom walked closer. The armor glowed more with each step. He reached one of the stones and placed his hand on it. Nothing moved. No secret passage opened. But inside his mind, a voice returned. Here the seed was planted. Here it must bloom again. Tom turned to Lyra. This is where it began. She looked around. But what began here? The ground suddenly lit with soft patterned circles, lines, stars glowing under the moss. Lyra stepped back, amazed. It's under the soil. Tom nodded. They buried it. As they watched, a soft breeze moved through the forest. The light patterns formed a single shape agate. Not real, just an outline. Like a memory rising from the land itself. Tom stood in the center. The armor pulsed once, and the outline lit brighter. Then something unexpected happened. The trees around them echoed with a low vibration. And from above, hidden satellites picked up a signal that hadn't been heard in thousands of years. Somewhere in deep space, a forgotten relay woke up. Someone, or something, heard it, and began to move. Tom didn't know it yet, but his presence had reconnected something old and wide. Something beyond Earth. Lyra looked at him, her voice low. You didn't just wake the armor. Tom stared ahead. You woke the galaxy.